Hello everyone, welcome back to Blue Ridge Survival. Today I'm doing something quite a bit different. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over basically what you can do as a person my age or maybe younger to give yourself the skill set, give yourself the mindset to survive in any different scenario. Whether it be you are lost in the woods because you just wandered off the trail or something, you got lost. Whether it be you're in a situation where there's somebody threatening you or your loved ones, or it's a situation that you may have seen, like a car wreck or something. Ways to prepare yourself for that kind of stuff, because it can happen to anyone and you have no excuse to not prepare. So to start off with, some of the most common objections to doing anything tactical or preparedness centered or just survival, like bushcraft kind of stuff, it's usually, well, I don't want to be that one guy wearing a tinfoil hat being a preparedness nut, blah 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 blah. And if you say you're into prepping, they think you're crazy. You do not even have to be into prepping as in buying stuff, like buying supplies and stuff like that, because a lot of times when you're a teenager, because that's kind of what I'm focusing this video on, is like around from ages 14 to 18, when that stage of your life, you don't have money to usually just spend on buying crates of food to put in your basement. But the one thing you do have resources to do is fill your head up. So do it when you're young, and by the time you don't have time to go research or train or just kind of practice some of these skills, you'll have them in your inventory. The main objections to prepping or just being prepared or learning skills, other than I don't want to be a nut, because nobody's going to say knowing how to start a fire in the wilderness, knowing how to find your way out of a area is nuts. If you think that's nuts, then I can guarantee you it's the opposite. The biggest objection to preparedness, other than the whole thing about people being nuts, is, well, I don't have enough time, or I'm not into that, or whatever excuse you want to give. You don't have to be fully kitted out, like into it, like going to the range every few days, spending tons of money on ammo, buying tons of guns, getting all your friends to be like prepper friends and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that. You just have to spend a little bit of deliberate time figuring out certain skills that will save your butt in any bad situation. And as for not having enough time, there is always time. You can't tell me you have no time. When you go home and play video games for 3 hours till 3 a.m. or 6 hours till 3 a.m. or whenever you're doing it, you could at least be spending 30 minutes looking on YouTube, just looking through how to build a fire, how to splint a leg, how to apply a tourniquet, like basic stuff. It takes you no time at all. It's very easy to remember. Spend 30 minutes of your gaming time to learn something that will actually help you in real life. Also, another big thing is you need to know basic facts about the world you live in. It's kind of crazy that as a culture we've gotten to the point where a lot of teens and kids think carrots grow on trees and potatoes come off bushes. It's just like, in the world you live in, you do not know what your food is. At least get some basic idea of, there's poisonous plants, there's edible plants, like what will kill you. A lot of teens die because they are dared to do something and they're like, oh, whatever, I'm invincible, I'm 16, I'm 17, I can do whatever the heck I want, I'm invincible, I'm my own main character of the story. You're not, and you will die if you do something stupid. And basically all that means is, don't go, if somebody dares you, hey, go walk onto the edge of that waterfall right there, and you can tell the rocks are all slimy. You're like, oh, that's weird. But since you don't know anything about the outdoors, you don't know that rocks that are green or that are kind of yellowish colored are usually incredibly slippery, and you fall off and die. That's happened at least once in my area. So basically what I'm saying there is, just know what world you live in, no risks. Take risks if you believe that the outcome is worth the risk. Do not take a risk if there's no point in taking it whatsoever and the risk is very high. So basically, the mindset is the most important thing. You need to have the mindset that if you are a man, you are in charge of protecting your family, protecting the people you know, and you need to get in your mind, not necessarily true, but you need to get in your mind that you're the only person who's going to do it. It's not usually true, but if you know that it's your responsibility to do it, then a lot of times if something goes bad, most people who do have a responsibility to protect the people in that situation, they end up just not, because they're like, oh, it's somebody else's responsibility. So if you always think it's my responsibility to do it, then you're always going to be the person who's running towards the gunfire, unless you have no reason to, like it's just arranged or something. All right, so what about training? How do I develop the skills to go with a good mindset? Well, number one, skills are more important than gear, and they cost nothing. Or if you go to a class, they will cost probably something, but most of the time they cost nothing. So what that means is, whether you see the ultra cool tactical guys with their EMP proof Tacoma, which is actually really cool, and I really would like it, but you don't need it. You need skills. If you do not know how to drive, there is no point in having a car. If you do not know how to fire a gun, there's no reason to buy multiple. You need to know the things before you buy the stuff to help with that knowledge. A perfect instance is a medical kit. A lot of people who do have a lot of skills in a lot of other areas, the ultra cool tactical guys, they'll know how to shoot a gun really well, all that kind of stuff. They'll have this really cool ultra stocked IFAK, and they don't know how to use half the things in their IFAK. And if you don't know how to use something, it's basically useless to you. You don't want to be reading the directions while somebody's bleeding out on the ground and you've got 30 seconds till they bleed out. Places to get training. Number one is going to be YouTube. People don't understand, well, they do understand, but they take for granted that they have most of the knowledge in the world at their fingertip. The point is that you can look up any topic on YouTube and you can learn about it. There's usually at minimum 2 or 3 videos on that subject, if not hundreds of videos on that subject. So really quick, I'm going to recommend a set of books that I really found helpful when I was first getting into prepping and tactical stuff and bushcraft. I'm not really sponsored by him or anything. I wish I was, because then I'd be getting a little bit of cash for this, but I'm not. So it's the Tactical Wisdom series by Joe Dolio, but they were super helpful. They're written in the mindset of somebody who doesn't necessarily know a whole lot about this kind of stuff. Not in the mindset, but like for that person. And they were super helpful. They actually inspired me to make my entire tactical group, which is kind of another subject. But so Tactical Wisdom series is 5 books, TW1, TW2 through 5. There's one about baseline training manual. That's kind of the stuff for somebody who has no idea about most of this, and it kind of explains all the gear lists and mindset and situations you kind of need to be aware of. There's 2, which is more of fieldcraft, so you're getting into the point where you're actually doing training in the woods and on the field. There's defensive operations, which is obviously more in mind of a WROL or end of the world as we know it kind of thing. And that's going to be more for defending your compound, doing vehicle recon and all that kind of stuff, convoys and that kind of stuff. There's 4, which is scouting and patrolling. And the last one is first aid, which is kind of very basic. You can put it along with the baseline if you don't know anything. Those 2 are going to be your best bet. The baseline training manual and first aid manual, and I will put links in these in the description. So if you want to buy your set, they're definitely worth it, and they've got a lot of knowledge for just being 5 little books. Obviously, you can also go to your local fire department. They usually have free CPR and AED classes. Ours did, and we went to it because it's free again, and if you've got a free training class, why not go to it? You can go to, there's also like mountain search and rescue or wilderness first aid or wilderness survival courses, and you can usually find those just by Googling them in your area, and there'll usually be one within 2 or 3 hours depending on where you live. Another great resource, if you're more into the bushcraft side of this, more just survival, not the tactical side, is the Bushcraft 101 and that whole Bushcraft series by Dave Canterbury. If you're into bushcraft a lot, you probably already know him. He's kind of a big name in the bushcraft world, and that is a great book. That whole series is great, especially if you just want to have little field guides to how to do a ton of different bushcraft tasks. It's where I've learned most of the stuff I've ever done on my channel. Those are great books. I'll also put a link for at least one of those in the description below. And the last book I wanted to share with you guys is perfect for what this kind of video is aimed toward, which is teenagers, and it's called The Teenage Prepper, and it's by the Professional Citizen Project, they've got a ton of different books, kind of like the Joe Dolio ones. I honestly prefer the Joe Dolio ones because they're, in my opinion, they're more easy to read. But this one's obviously really easy to read. It's because it's made for teens. And that one's a great book for if you're getting into it. It kind of explains most of the stuff I've already explained in this video. So yeah, training can be found anywhere. If you want it, you will be able to find it. If you are willing to put in time and effort for it, you should be able to do it. And of course, last off, we're going to be talking about gear. I put this last because it really is the least important for you out of all the subjects we've covered. If you know how to do the things, again, you will be able to do them, and the knowledge is more important than having gear to do it. That said, you need gear. You just need to have the knowledge to use it, and basic knowledge first. So if you're picking a vehicle, we're going to start off just with this because this is a lot of teens are kind of looking for a vehicle. They're going to get a vehicle soon, or they have a vehicle and they're trying to figure out, well, if you're interested in this stuff, they're probably trying to figure out storage solutions, or they want ideas so that their back seat isn't just covered in gear, or their front seat, if it's a single cab, isn't covered in gear if they keep gear in their car, which I do. Maybe I'm just insane, but picking your vehicle is going to entirely depend on where you are. If you're buying a big jacked up truck for its off-roading capabilities, for its more just power, all that kind of stuff, you're obviously not going to want that in a very large city. It completely depends on where you live. If you live out in the country, a truck is a perfectly great choice. A truck or a Jeep, even, like things that can do off-roading, because you might have to do that. You might have to cross a field, or you might have to go off-road, and a truck is obviously going to be the best choice, a truck or a Jeep. And a lot of times they are more expensive, so teens trying to get into getting a vehicle, it is kind of difficult for them to buy a truck because they just are more expensive. But if you look on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, you can find good deals in the $5,000, $6,000 range. This thing was $5,000. You can find trucks for good prices. If you live in the city, you really should be getting something that's going to blend in. It's the whole gray man concept. You don't want a giant jacked up truck in a place where all your neighbors are driving Civics and Priuses. If you hate Civics and Priuses, then you can get something like an SUV, or you can get a nicer looking sedan or a sports car, or if you can't really afford that, just go with a sedan. It's honestly a good choice. It's good gas mileage, cheap, gets you where you need to go. If that's what you need, then that is what you need. That's the tactical choice, is to get a less impressive car because it allows you to do other stuff. And if we're talking about storage, I know people say full double cabs aren't real trucks, but I don't particularly care. I actually really like this, especially since my family has 6 kids. I can actually fit all of us in this thing, which is really nice. It allows for a lot more storage. It allows you to put these beautiful little MOLLE panels on the back of your seats without not being able to sit in the back seats anymore, which if you have a short double cab or a single cab, obviously you can't put those on. So basically, if you have your vehicle, the essentials I would say are you need to have a first aid kit, you need to have a basic toolkit, and you can have other stuff like weapons or fire extinguisher or all that kind of stuff, but that stuff comes secondary. Then this is kind of where people say, well, I don't have money to buy this stuff or whatever. Depending on your situation, most of the time I'm just going to say get a job, because right now you are having your bills paid, you're having your rent paid, basically, you're getting free food, unless you're not, and then good on you for buying your own stuff. That's pretty impressive. But if you're living under your parents' roof or whoever's in charge of you, and they're paying for all your meal and food and all that kind of stuff, you do not have many expenses. You get a job, you can put basically 100% of that to whatever you want, unless they force you to put in college or whatever. Most of the time, any money you get could go to the gear you can get now that you won't be able to get later when you're starting to start a family, or you're just trying to get out into the work scene and you are living very tight. Right now you have no expenses just about, other than gas if you have a car and all that kind of stuff. So if you can, I would buy gear now when you can and you don't have nearly as many bills to pay. And then your future self will thank you when you don't have enough money to spend on that kind of stuff when you're older. Also, if you can, find people who are willing to do training with you. Of course, if you live in the city, there's not going to be many people who are going to want to do that. Again, you don't have to go out in the woods and do tactical drills and stuff like I do. But you can just research, do your research, learn skills that can help you and others in bad situations, and just get into it. Because if you don't think that learning things that will help you survive if you think that's a waste of time and you think it only happens to a couple people, everyone says it'll happen to somebody else until it happens to them. So if you've got friends that are willing to do training with you, that's great. You can have fun just running through the woods, just teaching them basic stuff like, well, on our hot property, it's so hilly and mountainous. They're all learning how to climb up hills a lot, and they're starting to get more endurance. You can teach them basic stuff like just how to hold a rifle, how to shoot an airsoft gun, like just basic stuff. Very basic, easy stuff to do. Super fun to do. We had a ton of fun. If you want to check out my other channel, I posted a video called it's like airsoft hostage situation or something. We were doing a training drill for that. That was so fun, so crazy. That kind of stuff is super fun, super easy to do, and it will teach them things and teach you things. So yeah, that's all for today. I pretty much just talked my head off. So yeah, thanks for watching, and if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.